Today is part one of a two-part episode about the unexplainable. Almost everyone has had such an experience.
I'm not sure I would go with the 99% now. I would think 75% would be in the natural, and giving the benefit of the doubt to things I don't understand would be that 25%.
But what does Scripture say in this regard? And what can we, as Christians, do with these stories?
I don't believe everything is a demonic spirit. I don't think demons are hiding behind every door. I don't think every bad thing that happens to a person in their life is because Satan is on the hunt for them.
This weekend next on Faith on Tap. And we're here at Kingsman Brewing Company in Mildale. That's Southington, right?
Yeah, it's Southington.
So it's Southington, but it's a section. Is Mildale considered like the La-Ti-Da section of
No,
Southington?
It's considered the poor section, I think. Marion is the second to the poor section.
Oh, thank you so much.
Very nice.
Thank you. And we just got
We're
delivered a
getting some
pizza.
delicious food here.
I think we need to talk about this pizza.
Mm-hmm.
So at the Kingsman, they make their own pizza here, which is unusual for breweries in Connecticut. Usually they have food trucks. So
Very nice crust. They
didn't have a lot of meat selections here.
No, they seem to be really focusing on keeping it vegetarian.
What was this?
We
on here?
had the
La
La
Madonna.
Madonna, and it has fresh moots, and I'm a huge fan of fresh moots. Really nice tomato sauce, and then it had the
Just slice.
cherry peppers. Is that
Yeah.
Yeah, so red cherry peppers and meatball.
With fresh boots and red sauce.
It's very tasty. Not a huge pie, but it's very tasty.
Yeah, I mean, Connecticut is known
just
for its
seems
pizza.
very, very homemade, so which is good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Connecticut, for being awesome.
And this pizza is, I would
He
say.
said it was a white pizza. Oh, this pizza?
Yeah, our
Ours?
pizza. On a scale of 1 to 10, as far as Connecticut pizzas go, I'd give it maybe a 6.
I was going to say 7.
I mean, worldwide, it'd be a 9.
Go down south, there'd be like an 11.
Yeah, exactly. As we're here, Dennis was given 8 napkins, but he needed another 12. So he just came back.
And so I just indulged in this. I call it a breakfast pie, but it's not called the breakfast pie here at Kingsman. It's called the Wacky Wacky.
That's sorry.
I promise you, I did not order it because of the name, which I usually order my
first.
beer by. I ordered it because it has cheese, bacon, and eggs on it.
And your first bite was
Delicious.
Oh, okay, good. So breakfast pizza.
I'll let you get to your pizza then.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So tonight,
Good pizza.
we're going to be asking the question, do you have an experience that is not explainable? I think it's going to be really interesting what the responses will be. I think we're going to get some profound answers in this one because there's always certain things in life that people revert back to in their thoughts and go, you know what? I have no answer for that. And hopefully we can get them to go into the spiritual level. We're trying a new approach to see if we can get some depth out of these people.
Yeah, let's go mining for some gold here.
Do you have any thoughts on, do you think it'll be a positive experience?
I think it actually is. This is the kind of question that I think people don't necessarily get to answer or think about. And so I have never met a single person who hasn't had some experience that didn't, wait a minute, what the heck was that? Every single person that I've talked to has had an experience like that. Dennis?
Well, I think this is one of the best opportunities to get into the supernatural realm part of the conversation.
Right.
Because I think a lot of people, when they think of an experience they can't explain, it has to do with the supernatural, ghosts and grandpa visited me and demonic, whatever it is.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of potential here to go deep.
Yeah, exactly. So
Absolutely.
it should be fun. I'm looking forward to this. I guess let's talk to people and see what they have to say.
Absolutely.
Your name?
John.
All right, John, it's a very complex question. Have you ever had an experience that you couldn't explain? Oh, wait, your name then?
My name is Paul.
Paul. Good to meet you, Paul. I'm Dennis.
Nice to meet you, Dennis. So this morning I was walking my dogs out in the yard and I let one of the dogs in and I went back out to find the other dog and I thought she wandered off and I was walking around the whole house calling her and I'm like, she must have just went to chase something because she's a beagle mix. She loves to chase things and walked into the house to go get my keys to go drive around the neighborhood and she was standing in the kitchen.
So
But
what's
she
your
didn't
premise?
come in when I walked in and let
She
the other
just
dog in.
appeared.
I don't, it's like she's a magic dog now is all I know. Yeah. Yep. Either that or a dog that looked just like her was in the yard going to the bathroom when I walked in. I don't know.
So tired.
I don't know what happened, but it was a weird morning.
Wow. So what can we attribute this to? Does your dog have ninja skills?
She must, because she ran in without me. Yeah.
Well, you can't drink all day unless you start early.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Well, you got to start right when you wake up. Otherwise, the whole day's ruined.
Well, wow. So your dog just appeared, poof.
Yep.
Through the transporter, Star Trek.
She miraculously somehow articulated in the kitchen.
Has this ever happened before?
No.
It never has.
No.
Will you call me if it ever happens again?
I'll try to get video proof of this, because I'm like, I feel like I can make some money on this. I don't know.
Right? The magically appearing dog.
I have a magic dog.
Well, thank you. That was a very interesting story.
Well, that was my day.
and we're sure it's not a ghost dog and not a dog.
No,
in
the
past.
ghosts live in the house, but not the dog.
So you've experienced ghosts in the house. Now this is getting even more interesting.
Yes.
Do you care
I
to
believe the
elaborate?
old lady that owned the house before us.
Really? How
lives
come?
there. We've had lots of things that have happened.
Can you give me like one of the highlights? And if you're uncomfortable, please don't.
No. One was one night one of my oldest daughter woke up wearing my younger daughter's pajama pants.
That's unique. Oh, okay.
I was sleeping because I was nervous.
Wait, you didn't know about the swapping of the pants?
No, not till we woke up and we're like, I was wearing. I remember going to bed freezing because I had shorts on and she had long pants on and she was sweating. So we had like opposite problems and we both woke up in the morning, just like swapped pants, and both our problems were solved. So we think the ghost is a nice old lady named Jacqueline. She's very sweet, but definitely lots of
very
activity.
Sweet until she's not.
No, she's sweet. The demons downstairs are the other problem.
So how does it make you feel that you believe that you're living in a house with a ghost that can actually change your trousers in the middle of the night?
I feel like she's an old soul. She was a grandmother in this world. I feel like she's a kind of a protector for us on the top floors, and then at the bottom we have this like nice basement with a little furnace area, and that's where I feel like all the dark stuff comes, and Jacqueline does her thing to protect our family.
So there's dark things in your basement?
I think so. I think there's some energies. Like I don't know if you could get that in
You
your
live in the basement?
I don't know if you could get
You don't
that
look
in
like
the
a ghost.
No. All right.
The ghost is actually him.
Wow. So you have a belief in the afterlife?
100%.
100%. And what does it look like you're going to come back, for you anyway? Does it look like you're going to come back as a ghost, or is there heaven, hell? Is there reincarnation? What's your belief?
I'm definitely in between with like, there is a heaven, hell. I believe in that 120%, but I do think I've seen proofs and videos and, watch things, and you just can't explain them. Like, there's just no way to explain them besides that. Like, I've seen videos on the past of a little kid who's explaining how he died in World War II, and he walks up to the plane and he knows every single part. The kid's like 5 years old. How are you? I don't know anything about a plane, but I'm not going to know anything in the cockpit. Like, I know that for sure. So,
and what's your name again?
My name's Emily.
Emily. And how old are you?
I'm 22.
22. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you believe in heaven, you believe in hell.
Yeah.
What do you believe about them?
I believe that when you die, you stand before God, and he sits there and he goes over and he judges and he lets you know if you've.
What's he judge?
He doesn't judge per se, but you have to view your entire life, see if you have held up to his end of believing in him and spreading his word and being.
What's his end of believing? Like, is there a level you have to get to? And then you get into heaven, like, okay, God, I believe in you this much?
No, I think it's more like just having that constant faith. Like, not giving up because life was getting hard, but having that faith in him.
In him.
In him, that he knows what he's doing, that he's leading your life, and have, divine timing, all of that, where it's just everything is planned and you just have to trust the process kind of thing.
Wow. Do you have a background in church?
No, not really. I was baptized.
Are you related?
He was. This is my father.
Okay.
So he was raised in church, and I was baptized as a Protestant when I was younger, but I never really grew up in church. He is very devout Christian, and he's all about it, and he's taught me a bunch of things here and there, but
you guys are boyfriend, girlfriend?
Boyfriend, girlfriend,
okay.
Yeah. So I've always had different opportunities to learn about different faiths and different beliefs, and I think I kind of worked my way back into not a set stone of like Christianity or Judaism or Buddhism, a spectrum for me, I guess,
Wow,
where
okay.
you could just
And so you, sir, are the devout Christian in
Test the
the
mic.
whole group? And first your name.
practicing.
My
Again.
name is John.
John, that's right. And you're very quiet, John, so put the microphone to your mouth. So tell me about your experience in this.
I believe I'm 100% a believer in Jesus Christ. I think me and my little brother, that's my little brother, Josh, are really strong
What's up,
believers
Josh?
in it. I've experienced it. I've seen it. I have a bunch of knowledge on it.
Do you attend a church?
Yeah, I have in the past. I don't at the moment, but
You don't?
again, I do pray every night and every morning before I wake up, read my Bible scriptures in the times.
Do you really?
Yes.
So how would you reflect on the whole ghost thing that's going on in the home here with old lady ghost changing trousers and whatnot?
Yeah, I do believe that Jesus Christ himself does have great spirits, good spirits and bad spirits, depending on who do you look at and what you view as yourself in opinion. I won't ever push what my faith is and what my views are anybody else, but I do think that God gives you obstacles that you have to cross, and those are things that we cross. We call obstacles here. And I believe that the devil will give you as well obstacles to push your faith and test it as well.
Mm-hmm. So do you believe Emily's faith is being tested in the context of being haunted and even having like what she senses as an evil energy downstairs?
So I'll tell you this. I think the spirit in the house is very lovely. I've had
From the top, not the bottom.
the one at the bottom. I haven't had
The
the
first-
experiences.
First ever time he's lying. See, look at it.
He's got a good smile though, doesn't he?
The first time he ever came to the house, he literally said to me, he's like, I don't know what it is, but that furnace room, I'm drawn to it. Like
Drawn to it. And
like
that's
I,
where you feel dark.
and that's where I like immediately.
Wow.
And I had never told him any stories or anything. And so then another thing, we have sensor lights, motion sensor lights in the basement.
Uh-huh.
And he was downstairs on a couch and I'm upstairs doing whatever. And he swears to this day, he hears me calling the top of the stairs, like, babe, baby, like John, nothing. I was in the bedroom. I was not even paying attention to him.
Wow.
And he sees one of the motion lights go on and he comes upstairs. He tells me this whole thing. And I'm like, you're lying. Like, there's no way.
All right. There's going to be a rebuttal of some kind here.
Well, I think the
Quiet.
person that can tell you the best experience at the moment is the guy actually living in the basement. Yeah, he doesn't.
Are you
have any-
scary, dude?
No, I haven't experienced anything, and
And you live there
yeah, I currently yes at the moment.
At the moment.
at the moment.
But like I said, I don't view like some of those points that they view as well for themselves, but I do believe there's good spirits and bad spirits depending on how you look at it and views points.
Mhm.
You say haunting, I say obstacles. So there's different ways we can view it as well.
Yep.
So it depends on how you view it yourself as well.
Very cool. That was quite the rabbit trail. You started off with an appearing dog to a ghost of an old lady. This is the social elixir right here. This opens people up to conversation. That's the thing.
We come from an already chatty family. So this is
I love that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Here I am with right up
Rachel.
to and
Melanie.
Melanie, and they are very lovely friends having the best girls' night out. It's like I'm super jealous, and it smells amazing right here. Have you ever had an experience you could not explain?
That's definitely a hard question
Why is it a difficult question?
because I feel like whenever I have an experience that's hard to explain, I always try to come up with some kind of reason for it. Like
Okay.
I almost brush it off and
Okay.
say like, oh, I don't know, like it could be from this.
Sure. So give me an example of when you've done that.
This actually happened last week. I lost something. So I'm Christian. I vape. And that's something that I deal with a lot.
Mhm.
And it's always something I fight with. You know, like I know that I shouldn't be doing this, but it's just something that I do, you know. And I watched church on Sunday and I had my vape in my hand after I watched the service and I ripped it and I said, you know, I just watched, I shouldn't be doing this. And I put it down and I walked away and it lost.
Wow.
Can't find it. Tore up the whole room.
Oh my
Can't find it
gosh.
anywhere. And I was like, I can't explain this. I can't find it anywhere.
Okay.
And I was like, oh no, I must have just put it somewhere. I must have just.
So you are trying to explain it away the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Are you trying to explain away or just trying to figure out a solution?
Probably both.
A little bit of both.
Probably both. Because like I am religious, so I sit there
Right.
and I'm like, nope, that's God's work.
Yeah.
Like I know he's yelling at me. Like I know he is.
And I've been thinking a lot about habits, since the beginning of the year, and what are some ways to get over habits. And so this kind of strikes me. I'm hearing that through that lens. And so it's just interesting to hear someone. And it's like, it would be so cool if God would just like, say, oh, by the way, this habit, I'm just taking this thing.
Yeah,
It would be super cool.
Yeah, that's how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
I'm like, I told him, like, here, take this habit
Exactly.
from me. I know it's bad. And then he did. And I'm like, wait, no.
Oh, that's so funny. And how about
I
you,
don't
Rachel?
know that I could think of one. Like, I'm sure that I have, but I don't know that I could think of an experience that I couldn't explain.
That's absolutely me. Even when you were little.
I mean, I have one when I was little, but like I explained. I mean,
You've since come to some sort of explanation.
I guess not. I guess I've just settled with terms. I guess like it's one of those like you're little and like someone passes away and you saw your grandfather. It was like that.
Did that happen to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us about this. I'd like to hear
I
this.
was not that I wasn't close with my grandfather, but it was always like we're going to Graham's house. Like it was never like Graham and Pop's house. It was just
Okay.
like my grandmother did everything with the six of us.
Uh-huh.
And he just like worked a lot. So like when he passed away, like he was always around. We were obviously sad, all that. Wasn't like my best friend. I was really young. I was like 6 years old.
Okay.
Something like I wasn't like super connected to him. And so he passed away and I was in my room with my cousin and I don't remember what we were doing. We were doing something, but I remember looking out my back window and in my back driveway, he was just standing in my back driveway in his work clothes like he was always in. And it was just him standing there. He didn't do anything. He wasn't waving. He didn't say anything. And I don't remember anything really directly after that, but my cousin said like I started crying and shaking, ran away. And I just remember running to my parents and I saw pop up. But everyone believed me. But I guess it was just because I was so scared that it happened that they were like, okay, she definitely, like she wouldn't be making this up.
When you go over that in your mind, do you recall ever telling anyone else or talking about this to the rest of your family as you got older and see if they had any recollection? I mean, you say your parents
Yeah, so
believed
after
you.
that,
I'm wondering if they had some sort of interaction.
Yeah, so after that, I became like really, like I said, we weren't close when we were younger, but after that, I wouldn't stop talking about him. And like it was an immediate, like I became really connected to him after he passed away, which sounds weird. Like now I was 6 and I'm 21 now. So listen, it's been a long day. It's been a lot of years. Okay. I was 6 years old and I still have his paperweight. I've always had his paperweight on my dresser since he passed away.
Oh,
and it was
that's
never,
cool.
it's just, I can't stress enough that we weren't close before he passed away.
Okay.
And he was always at work, kind of like away. And it was always me with my grandmother. And
Okay.
after that experience, I wrote stories about him. And they were like, he was a lot of my like high school essays was about him and stuff
Oh my
like
goodness.
that.
So that wasn't even all that long ago. I mean, to you, it seems like a lifetime. To me, it's like yesterday. So when you start thinking about this and how you actually almost like developed a relationship, after he passed, how do you see this in the spiritual, or do you see this? Is there like a thin veil, or is this part of a walk between worlds, or is it, I'm not saying this, but is it you have a vivid imagination, or do you think, what do you think is going on there?
I think it's changed throughout the years, my perspective on that, because I've never had a religious background throughout my entire upbringing until the last 2 years. My family is not religious. He was not, my grandfather was not religious. And after that, not that he became my God, but when I would quote unquote pray, I would be talking to my grandfather and it would be go back to that relationship that had developed afterward and be like, okay, Papa, this is going wrong. Can you help with this? And kind of like you would pray to a God, but my quote unquote God was my grandfather. I was just
So
talking
more
to
of
him.
like an intercessor in a way, perhaps?
Yeah. And then after that, I think it was sort of, now that I am Christian, I think it was sort of, I had a tough childhood and he was my person to talk to or my outlet when I didn't believe in a God. And it was what
Do you
God
think it was a
giving-
genuinely spiritual thing, or do you think it was in your head? What do you think now, here at 21?
Now I think it was what God gave to me as a kid for comfort. And now I am Christian. And I think it was just everything's God's timing. It wasn't my time to know God for whatever reason at that time. And that was the comfort that I needed as a kid that I didn't get from anyone else, I guess. And so now I think that's developed, and he's still a big part. But like I said, the way I talk to him is the way that I talk to God now.
Okay.
And I just thank God for him now, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense.
Interesting.
Yeah, it does. I think so.
What do you think?
I think it makes sense.
Okay. All right. So it's funny because you said, I've never had an experience. And then you just gave me this 15-year experience.
Well, I guess it was just because it was never questioned. Question was hard to explain.
Oh, yeah.
And
You're
like
trying to
my
explain. I
parents,
see what you
because
mean.
nobody ever questioned it, my parents were like, oh, wow, you're like randomly really scared. Something had to have happened.
Okay.
So it was never like a question of whether or not what I saw.
Right.
But I guess
But
it does fit into the question.
Okay, but it's still there. It's still kind of
It's
what really.
Yeah.
There's no you can't use like an equation
Yeah.
to explain this. That's an absolutely stunning story. You kind of shocked me. Thank you very much.
And Liz, who's drinking a polar lime seltzer. How are you doing today?
I'm doing swell.
And Dennis, or shall I say, the patriarch of parables.
Ooh, I aspire to that.
Boy, I'm trying to get something you're not happy with. You've been happy every time. Maybe next week.
That's a good come on, parabolas.
Yeah.
The patriarch of parabolas.
Parabolas, yeah. We asked the group, what's an experience that has happened to you that you can't explain? Which, we kind of thought it'd be fun, and I think it was entertaining. It was some neat responses from all over the place. And this is not in regards to the guest responses, but what would you say percentage-wise a person gives their experience? Is there a very rational explanation, unsupernatural explanation? What percentage would you give it, Liz?
I would probably say it's close to 99%.
That there is a rational explanation.
But now, not to say rational, because supernatural could be rational. But I'm saying, is the explanation natural and not supernatural?
You say 99% natural.
Yeah.
When someone says, this is what happened to me, and you're saying, well, that's probably because of A, B, C, D. Or even if you don't know what the ABC is, there is an ABC. It's not a supernatural power came down and did something.
I'm not sure. I would go with the 99% now. I would think 75% would be in the natural, and giving the benefit of the doubt to things I don't understand would be that 25%.
Well, things you don't understand is what I mean. It's not rational. It's just that if you knew, that was a rational explanation. Like when you see a magician that disappeared. Well, it didn't disappear,
but it did.
But it has a rational explanation. You just don't know what that is. I'd say more, probably 95% in my opinion. Now, since this is a Christian podcast, it's a little probably closer to home. As far as, say, healings and supernatural stories that you hear, what percentage of those do you believe are truly supernatural, or maybe a placebo effect, or what have you? What would you give on that one? When you hear someone give a testimony in church.
So people in church.
Yeah, well, or someone outside.
Oh, that's a little dicey to be given numbers on.
In your opinion?
In my opinion, I tend to be more doubtful. I would still put it in the 95.
Oh, wow, that high. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have more faith than my wife?
For me,
Liz?
you have to consider the source. You absolutely have to consider the source. When Aunt Lulu's hangnail finally falls off her big toe because it's been festering for a month, and that was the Lord's provision. Right. Okay, I see where faith can come into play in that. But I've spoken with people who have seen the dead raised, and I trust their opinion. I trust what they saw in the story they told me.
Were they medical doctors? I mean, to make that conclusion that they were dead in the first place?
No.
So you're espousing the song, Don't You Tell Me He Can't Do It.
Ooh.
Don't you tell.
Don't you tell.
Don't you tell me.
Don't you tell.
I know he can.
When I was writing this show notes up and thinking about what I was going to say, I remember a time where I went to a retreat way back in the day. It was a Catholic retreat, if I recall. And there was a priest who was doing laying on of hands. And people would come up, and the priest came up and was laying on hands, and people would be falling down. I wanted to have that experience, but at that time, time, I also realized the power of suggestion and realized that a lot of people do it just because they want to feel good or they want to be part of the gang. So I went up with, no, I'm not going to fall down. I mean, I wasn't going to say, I'm going to stand up no matter what, but I just wanted to go up there and have an experience. And I went down real hard.
Really?
Yeah. I was on the ground.
The official slain in the spirit.
I guess that's what happened. Yeah. I was on the ground for a bit. It was like I was conscious the whole time, but everything just gave out and I was down. And later on, I'm in the bathroom and one of the kids next to me, do you fall down? I go, yeah. Yeah. So did I, because I felt I liked him. He was a good guy. I just wanted to make him feel good. I go, oh, wow.
I might have a different reason.
I said, well, mine was real, but well, that's good. It's good. So I guess I'm saying that is that as Christians, we do have to be careful. There are people who claim everything is supernatural. Everything has an explanation. And then there's the other side that there's no such thing as supernatural, even in the Christian realm. Now, everything has a natural explanation. God's spirit doesn't work today as such. There are both sides to it. And Dennis, you've had a lot of experiences in your pastorship, healings and casting out of spirits. And what are your thoughts?
I don't believe everything is a demonic spirit. I don't think demons are hiding behind every door. I don't think every bad thing that happens to a person in their life is because Satan is on the hunt for them. In fact, I don't believe Satan is interested in any of us little people. He's only one person. He's not omnipotent. He's not all powerful. I've seen the demonic manifest. I've seen the demonic cast out. Once you've experienced it, you begin to be able to tell what's real and what's fake. And once you get a real taste of demonic possession, and I had one a couple of years ago in Zimbabwe, and it was unsettling.
And I guess it would be.
So nothing similar that you've seen in the States?
Not at that level.
I guess this would be our last question then for this particular part one. I'm sure once we came up with this question, we all thought of what's my experience. Dennis beforehand was saying, I have a couple I'm juggling around. Have you decided which one to share?
Was early off when we first moved into our home. Our house it was built in 1825, so it's got some history. We had a little Bichon dog, and the Bichon dog used to sit at the bottom of the stairs and look up the stairs and very calmly just growl. And just stare up the stairs, not bark, not be agitated in any way, just sit there calmly and growl. Okay, fine. So at one point we had a grandfather clock. It was a mantle clock. My father used to repair clocks, and so it was a gift from him. And I told him, Dad, the clock is running faster and faster and faster. It's not keeping good time. You messed this one up. He comes over, he takes the back off. The pendulum arm is bent almost at not a 90-degree angle, but probably a 70-degree angle. He said, what did you do to this? I said, Dad, I've never touched this. He goes, this is bent. I'm like, you gave me this clock. He said, I gave you this clock in perfect condition. Okay, fine. So now the joke in our house was we have a ghost. And Sandy and I used to joke, I used to joke that as long as it doesn't bother us in the bedroom or on the toilet, I'm good with the ghosts. And it was my immaturity that probably said that. One evening we are in our bedroom. Oh, and let me preface this. All through this time, we would wake up in the middle of the night and we can see the living room from our bedroom and all of the lights would be on the living room. I was like, did I forget to shut them off? And there was only 3. There was a little light and then there was just 2 bigger lights. And I would come out and click, 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 shut them off till it started happening on a reoccurring and all the lights would be on in the living room. That's what started, well, we have a ghost and okay, fine, as long as they don't bother us in the bedroom or the bathroom.
Now, when you're saying this, were you just joking or did you really believe it at that time?
At that point, I was a little bit anxious to think 4 times that the lights in the living room have come on. Not cool. And the dog sitting and looking upstairs where eventually, this is before children, but we knew that the kids were going to be upstairs. Not cool. So one evening, Sandy and I, we finished the day, we're in bed. We had a wall sconce type of light and we didn't use it often, but it was the extra light in the room. We're tucked in, good night, and click, that light goes on. An old school, the old brown button that you had to turn, click, that light goes on.
You heard that audible sound.
Oh yeah. And the light went on in our bedroom.
Wow.
I looked at Sandy. I said, go shut that off. And she looked at me and went, no. And I believe I might have floated through the air in one fell swoop and shut that light off. And Sandy was very pregnant with our daughter, Megan. When she left the house and the house was mine, I prayed in every single room, every single closet. I put my head up in the attic. I was down in the basement casting out anything that was not of God. God. Nothing has ever taken place since.
Sounds like another podcast. I'd love to go further into that because I'm wondering, whatever your view on ghosts are you saying it was demonic or was it a ghost? Or you don't know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I wish I knew. I mean, demonic, like, did I ever feel threatened? No, I just kind of freaked out that your bedroom light turns on.
Yeah.
You know, there wasn't any like things being thrown at us and
Right.
nothing like that. Just, this is weird.
That's good.
Having listened to enough paranormal podcasts, throwing stuff was going to be the next thing.
Yeah. Right.
Before I kicked their butts out.
Yeah. So I was getting a little bit uncomfortable with your story, to be honest.
Nothing has ever happened since. Like, literally nothing.
That's awesome. I like that.
How long were you in your Christian walk at this point?
Very new. In fact, one of the first books I ever read was Neil Anderson's Bondage Breaker. And that's where I went for the prayer, that a prayer of cleansing for rooms and things like that. I just used his prayer because I was so new. I was probably, I'm going to say less than a year in, maybe a year in, and this stuff is happening. So part of me is like, wow, this is really cool. Like, and then part of me is going, ooh, this can't be good.
Cool. Wow. And look, I have no idea what your story is going to be.
I've had a lot of little ones, but I found one that I posted on Facebook a few years ago. It's not quite as creepy as yours. Mine is actually kind of delightful. This was just a little over 10 years ago. Please be advised, I am a Time Lord. Yesterday, while preparing potatoes for the family meal and looking out the window into the backyard, I heard the voices of Tim and Kaylee, who are my son and daughter-in-law, in the driveway. Moments later, I saw a dark-haired young lady in a red sweater walk past the window, so I went over to the door to invite them in. No one was there. 10 minutes later, Tim and Kaylee arrived. Kaylee was in a red sweater.
I remember that now.
It was such a cool little thing. I have no idea. It was like a little time slip.
Bring the video over here. Look at my goosebumps.
No, that's a perfect story. It's like, doesn't have an explanation, a rational explanation, unless you did some weird stuff.
No,
Yeah.
and it utterly harmless and just kind of nifty.
My story, I know Liz still doesn't really believe, but
I know it's funny.
yeah, well, it's a real thing and it's not a joke. I joke around all the time, but this was not a joke. My friend who was working with me at that time, carpooled, Wes, would work together from a Christian school, would come home. It was a long trip. It was like 55 minutes trip back home. One day, there was a lot of back roads we were taking, and it was 3:00 in the afternoon. It wasn't dark or anything like that. It was the middle of the day in the summer. And I was a passenger. I look in front of me, and I saw this huge, dark creature. 10 feet tall, maybe, on two legs, walking across the road. And my first reaction, being a science guy, is I did not see that. Obviously, I was just imagining that. And I was just glancing over to my friend Wes, who was driving, and see if he had any reaction. He was looking at me. We both made eye contact, and he stopped the car. He said, "Did you see something?" "Yeah, what did you see?" "You saw a big dark creature?" So he hauled butt, went reversed all the way up to where this was there's a tree by the road, and then this huge multi-acre field, just grass. And we went there and we saw nothing. And this is a matter of like 30 seconds. There's no way a creature could have made that distance to the other side. To this day, we really believe this was like a Bigfoot encounter. And this is not a joke. And the funny thing is, there's a lot of lame Bigfoot shows and stuff on TV. And
my mother watches them all.
Oh, we've seen them all.
But one of them was featuring in Connecticut. It was about 2 miles from where we saw that.
Really?
Yeah. I know it was not a bear and I know it was not a human. What it was, I have no idea, but I cannot explain it. That would end our podcast for today. I hope you enjoy it.
Next week, we're going to flesh out our discussion of the supernatural a little bit more. We really want you to be here. And if you have anything you'd like to add to the discussion, please drop it right in our Facebook feed. We would love to have more discussions with you.
That would be awesome. Thank you. Tune in next episode when you'll hear Dennis say,
"Well, sainthood is not my bag."